Okay, we're out of executive session. No action was taken and the attorney would like.
Thanks. I also want to just add that the purpose of the executive session also was under Public Officers Law, Section 108(3). Any matter made confidential by federal or state law to include attorney-client communication. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. After much discussion, do we have a motion on B and C? Introduced by Supervisor Mayday, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question on B and C. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. 2D. So
Item 2D, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay. You all have a packet, and it is just in August of 2024, we had a discussion about increasing the county sales tax. Just as a review, our sales tax is currently at 7% overall. The state takes 4%, the county takes 3%. Because the city of Glens Falls has chosen to preempt the guidelines, all sales tax collected in the city of Glens Falls, they take half and the county gets half. Of that sales tax, this is the 3% now, because the state always gets 4%. So the state takes 4% of the 3%, city of Glens Falls keeps half, the county keeps half. Of the 3% county authorized portion outside the city of Glens Falls, the county takes half, 50% of that. And the other 50% is distributed to the towns according to assessed value. And that is a guideline we've talked many times in the past about, should there be a different way to distribute the funds. That is the state formula when a county has a city within the county and that city preempts, those are the guidelines for how we distribute the sales tax. We had the discussion, a workshop in 2024, and we talked about possibly increasing the sales tax in Warren County to 8% from 7%. And then the county would keep 4% and the state would keep 4%. The additional 1% that the county would charge does not fall under the state guidelines for the 3%. It would be a situation where, and I'll explain the process, but it'd be a situation where the county could decide what to do with that those additional funds, how to distribute them if they chose to, whether the county decided, and the board would decide that, to decide how to distribute that additional 1%. That additional 1% represents about $25 million, according to estimates, and they're pretty close to what the treasurer has done. We've had discussions. So the past 2 years, we've exceeded the 2% tax cap for property tax levy. Our property tax, we exceeded it by over 6% last year. We exceeded it by over 12% this year. About 25% of our county budget is discretionary. The rest is pretty much mandated by the state primarily, and some by federal. There's not much flexibility. We look at the expenses of the county coming forward. We have an EMS situation in our county that ultimately will not be able to meet our needs. We know that. We've had discussions about it. We've had studies about it. We're an aging county. We continue to age. We're going to need additional EMS services in the future, and the county's going to have to pay for some of that. Kevin Hajos is sitting over there, the superintendent of DPW. He'll tell you that he's getting half of the money he needs for the road projects. If we double the amount of money we get for the road projects, he still wouldn't be caught up. And we have culverts. We've done a culvert study. The culvert replacement, is going to be expensive. And all of the costs keep going up: asphalt, steel, tin, everything. Some of it, by, tariffs and things like that have gone into increasing the cost of construction material. Cost of electricity is going up, cost of fuel is going up, cost of food in the jail is going up. So we're faced with challenges we're going to have to meet either with property tax or sales tax. Sales tax, about 35% of our budget. About 35% of the sales tax is paid by people who do not live in this county. And I updated the amount of money someone would pay, an average family of four, what it costs to live in the county and how much additional tax they would pay. It'd be about $376, I believe, a year. Roughly, 20 some dollars a month. And we know, we have discussions about whether it's a regressive tax. It is a regressive tax, but property tax is also a regressive tax in some way. It does impact lower income people more significantly than it does higher income people. So I think what I would like to recommend today, I welcome, I'd love to hear the discussion. Basically what we're saying, and so let me go back a little bit. The reason what happened last year, we did this because Washington County informed us they were going to need to increase their sales tax. Saratoga County said, we're not interested. And our legislators who have to carry this forward, basically, we're asking for a home rule request for the permission to increase our sales tax above the state mandated 7%. And there are only 4 counties that are below 7%. Ontario County just increased theirs from 7.5 to 7.75. And we, Warren County, Washington County, and Saratoga County are all at 7%. Our legislators would have to carry this home rule request forward to the legislature. They'd have to vote on it. The governor would have to approve it. And then we'd make the determination through local law what we're going to do. Our legislators had indicated that it'd be easier to do if all 3 counties intended to go forward. And so we paused our implementation or potential implementation last year when Washington County voted to not do anything. And so we said, well, we'd be the only county going, and we just didn't think that was practical. In discussions with our legislators, with Senator Steck and Assemblyman Simpson, probably didn't make sense. I've had discussions with the 3 county administrators over the past year. And recently we learned that Saratoga County is interested in increasing their sales tax above 7%. And they were believing they wanted to do that next year and get it before the legislature next year. Washington County is in the position where they probably need to do this, we believe. And they indicated that they were interested in doing it. So all 3 counties kind of locked arms and said, we're going to take this to our board and hopefully get it before the legislature next year. There was a social event or a political event where Washington County and Saratoga County discussed this, and they both said, well, maybe we don't want to do it yet this year. And so it kind of started to back away a little bit. I believe that some county needs to do this. just go forward. And I think that would serve as incentive for the other counties to consider doing the same thing. And so what we would be doing is asking the board to submit a home rule request to increase our sales tax to 8%. If it's submitted, it has to be submitted to the Assembly and the Senate. Senator Steck and Assemblyman Simpson, I think, would carry this forward, get it in the legislature. The legislature would vote on it. It would be signed by the governor. The legislature goes through July of next year, June, usually July. If the bill was passed, then it would be signed by the governor probably in the fall. And then at that time, we as a board could decide what action we wanted to take. We could take it to the full 8%. We could take it to a lesser amount, 7.75, 7.5, or we could choose to do nothing and keep it at 7%. So we're not locking ourselves into saying we're going to increase the sales tax right now. What we're saying is there are unknowns in our budget. It's going to be challenging. The other point I didn't mention is the lack of the shortage of federal funds. We're going to be cut federal funds. It'll start next year, probably more prominent in 2027. We're going to have to figure out how we make up those funds. And so I think for good reason, the timing is probably right to ask to get this before the legislature and give us time over the next year to talk about what we think makes the most sense. With that, any questions?
Discussion, questions? Yes, Mr.
Thank you. Well, Senator Steck, Warner and Simpson take it if the three counties are talking about a different amount, or will they kind of just run with it and then we'll make the decision, like you said, afterwards?
I think it would make it easier for them if all three counties. Yeah. Probably easier if all three counties went for 8, but if one county went for 7.5%, a home rule request, I think they'd still take it. I think they would consider at this point, given the discussions we've had, though I will admit that one of our legislators went like that in a text to me last night.
Yeah.
But I think they would take it forward because we've had enough discussions. They know our financial position. They know there are things we need to do. So I'm hoping that the other counties will choose to move as well. But I have no guarantee of that right at this point.
Yeah. So we look at Saratoga County's looking at going to 7.5%.
That's what they've mentioned.
That's what they had mentioned, right? Tax cap, we went over 6 million, was it? Was that the?
Yeah,
They're over 6 million.
The tax cap was 1.383 million.
We went, okay,
We went over by 5 million.
by 5 million, not 5 million, okay.
It was, well, so the tax cap was 1.3, so we went over
Yeah,
by 5, the
We
tax
went
cap
over by 5, yeah,
Total was over 6
it was
million.
over 6 million.
Last year's budget.
Right, exactly, yeah, but over the tax cap, 5 million or so, and 1% would equal 25 million, right? It's big spread. Why wouldn't we consider, I know you're saying we could go up to 8%, but why wouldn't we apply right away for 7.5, just to give us the option to go to 8%? I'd hate to go to 8% and have Saratoga at 7.5, especially when the 0.5% would raise 12,500,000. And you talked about a distribution formula that would be different possibly than it is now, not based on the assessed value of the towns and the village, right? Possibly.
If you,
I could see that coming. I mean,
Okay. I think what I'm saying is, we don't need to make that decision right now.
right, but this,
I think that the advice I've gotten from our legislators is go for the full 8%, because you don't know what you're gonna do next year when the time comes. And you can still make the decision to do less than that in a local law, but you
Yeah.
have permission from the legislature to go to the full 8%.
Right.
So you still have the ability to flex that a little bit. If you look at practicalities, I'm assuming the board's going to say you need to divide it. If it's 24 million, then the county's going to keep 12 million. We're already $6 million over budget from last year.
Right.
So that gives us about 6 million to play with. I could put all of that in road projects again, and we wouldn't catch up. I think that it's less about just making the budget work today. And this is what a lot of the detractors or the people who talked against this the last time said, well, you don't need 24 million. Well, we don't need 24 million today.
Right.
But if we wanted to do the other things we needed to do. So we've got other issues like a regional morgue. We still haven't solved that issue, haven't solved our morgue problems. We have animal shelter issues that people are going to be starting to come to the board saying you need to do more in that regard. There are a lot of things this county can do that we haven't been able to do because of lack of funds. And this might give us the ability to make life better for our residents, citizens.
Okay,
Chairman, are we gonna be voting on this
On it.
morning or this afternoon?
Yes, sir.
It's
on the agenda.
Yeah. So, it's just my feeling that, again, my opinion that it's not really responsible for 5 individuals to be making a decision for 20.
Oh, we're just passing it on.
Okay, I mean, but if we, for whatever reason, members decide not to pass it on, we don't get the vote, then it's a dead issue. I guess I would encourage my colleagues to at least pass it on.
And I think that's what we're asking. I'm asking the committee to pass it on to the
Yeah.
full board so we can have a discussion at the
Right,
board
yeah,
on the 19th.
No matter what our, current opinions on the matter are. So.
Yes, sir. Very strong.
If Warren County voted to increase its sales tax to 8%, which is a regressive tax, how much, given everything equal, how much additional income would we anticipate or revenue would we anticipate from the extra 1%?
25
I would say
million.
12 million.
12 million?
You get 25
5 total.
Yeah, total 25, right?
50%.
Yeah.
Approximately. So it stays with the county, 50% goes back to the town.
That's what we decided, right?
I thought.
But that's back to the state.
No, the state keeps 4%.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll give it to the top.
We're talking about-
Okay, right, yeah, sorry.
Just the one.
Yeah.
Additional 1%. So, speaking from a small town with budget's getting pretty tight on it, it would help the small towns to go to 8%, just the additional sales tax, the way it's distributed now.
Yeah, the way it's distributed now, yeah, would help. Well, is there a motion on the floor to move it?
Just good. Okay. You want to introduce it?
Yep.
Introduced by Supervisor Casito. You have a second?
Second, Chairman, thanks.
Seconded by Supervisor Driscoll.
So if we
Staying away from
vote
each
for
other,
this now,
staying away from.
vote for this now, we'll still vote against it later.
It's gotta go to.
I'm just saying at the board meeting, because I'm not 100% sold on everything yet.
I'm not either, but it's gotta go to full board.
I think, yeah, I think so.
We're only a quarter of the.
Yep.
Right.
I'm a no vote.
No, county's gonna need the money, so, that's the bottom line. Cause, you can't keep raising wages the way we have been, and not change the structure of the county and how you operate and the services you provide. You're just gonna be seeing property tax go up every year.
But your property tax
just as
It's more
regressive. as
progressive,
sales
it's
tax.
not as regressive.
Property tax, you have to pay your property tax to stay in your house. Sales tax, you can decide on what you purchase.
Yeah, but the average family of four, that's gonna increase their taxes by $400.
And so is the property tax.
And,
Now, if I'm renting.
and renters too. I mean, landlords own buildings and, you know, they don't take the hit, they pass that on to their tenants.
Yeah, so your affordable housing is gonna be
Yeah.
less affordable.
Landlords don't take the hit.
Well, I mean, you know, but I mean, I tell people that, I've always told people that renters pay taxes, it's included in with their rent. You know, so. Yeah, the rents will undoubtedly increase.
I think the tourism part has to play into it too, you know, 35% that tourists contribute to our sales tax. Because common sense tells you that that happens. I don't know how, I know it's been argued in the past that that doesn't mean anything, but yeah, it does.
Sure it does.
That's 35% of the sales tax. Means a lot, so. That makes it less regressive. Anyways, I have my say. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All in favor?
All right,
Aye. Opposed? One opposed.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 2E is a request to amend the county budget in the amount of $143,000 to reflect an increase in additional mortgage tax collections for 2025. Surprisingly, our mortgages, it's been about over $400 million in mortgages. We've seen a dramatic increase compared to previous years. We had a slump after, when the rates started going up, but we might be at the tail end of that and coming out of it. So we just want a resolution to adjust for this additional mortgage tax.
Okay, do we have a motion? Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Discussion. I have a question about this. What's it gonna be spent on? Cause I see it's being appropriated to, contract line. County clerk contract. Why does it just stay there as a revenue with a fall to fund balance?
This is the pass through that goes to the
It
ETA.
goes this. Well, this is for the additional, that's right, yeah.
Okay, that question was answered. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Both? Okay,
Item 2F is a request to appropriate $35,000 from the general fund unappropriated surplus to budget code A3510-470. That's Control of Animals, SPCA, to fund outstanding invoices for animal control services. I know most of you know about it. We just had an incident where they had 139 snakes and 900 rats that they had to take care of until the court, and it took the court a while to decide whether to release these to the custody of SPCA so that they could rehome them. And that actually took 3 months or 4 months. And so this 35,000, they're under contract for us, but for exorbitant situations like this, we have to help. They couldn't absorb this cost, so.
Snakes were not covered under, were not specifically mentioned or considered. They're in the other category, which were outside the scope of the contract, meaning outside the payment of the contract.
We're gonna add snakes the next time, so.
Tarantulas and gerbils and anything else you can come up.
Unfounded ferrets.
moved by Supervisor Stroud. By Supervisor. Well, we do have $25,414.62. appropriate 25 from contingent, 10 from fund balance.
Whatever works, that's fine, as amended.
Good, good. You okay with that, Vinnie?
Yeah, I am.
Then I'll call the question on 2F.
Mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Takes care of the contingent. All right, number 3 is items from the county treasurer. And the first is a request to introduce proposed local law number 3 of 2025. And it's a local law further amending local law number 8 of 1996 relative to the delinquent tax installment payment plan.
Good morning, thank you. Good afternoon, excuse me. Gonna try to be as brief as possible. So we've been working on this law all year. I think I've told you in the past, we've had quite a bit of outstanding taxes and what we're trying to do with these installment agreements, because there are perpetual kind of gamers in the system. We closed loops like we're doing in a lot of our policies. But the highlights are, we basically initiated these changes in this law to apply to all taxpayers. Like right now, it's only applied to people that are going into foreclosure installment agreements. We've widened it, and again, it's legal to open to everybody, not just the taxpayers that are facing foreclosure. So if I don't pay my taxes this year, next year I'm gonna get a notice and they're gonna tell me, hey, you didn't pay your taxes. You may have the ability to enter an installment agreement. So it just opens it to everybody in Warren County. Down payments will consist of a total amount of penalties and interest at the time of the installment agreement. So at the time of the installment agreement, whatever that amount is, they are to put down no more than 25% of the total delinquent tax liens, penalties, and interest. If payments are more than 30 days due, they will be in default of their agreement. And the county may accelerate the payment to owe the full, accelerate their payment to owe the full balance. So the county may demand their full payment. Property owners with titled rights to the property will be considered eligible, but they must include all properties with delinquent tax liens they own in the agreement. So if they've got one property, they have to include all properties in their installment. Am I saying that right, Larry? Yeah, okay. Ineligibility, if taxpayers have foreclosed within the past 3 years, they are not going to be eligible until after that 3-year period to enter another installment agreement. And then finally, eligible owners may enter into installment agreements as soon as they have a delinquent tax lien, which I kind of referenced in the beginning. So if I don't pay my 2026 taxes in 2027, I can enter, there's another thing. I can enter an installment agreement. One other thing that I failed to mention, I apologize. Right, in the past, we've done quarterly payments, and right now we're changing it to 24 monthly payments, and there's 2 reasons for that. A, we think it's going to make it more manageable for people to budget to. And B, we think it'll help with compliance because they'll be doing it every single month as opposed to pay a quarter and then sometimes we never see them again.
Well, 24 or 12,
24, excuse me,
so bi-monthly?
24 monthly payments.
Yeah, that'd be bi-monthly.
No,
monthly.
monthly, the total amount that's due after the down payment would be split into 24 equal payments with interest attached to
It
those
has to be paid up within a year.
2 years. You'd
Or
have 2
2
years to pay,
years.
yeah,
Yeah, 2 years.
through monthly payments rather than quarterly or
But then they
biannual.
may incur an additional year's taxes on top of that.
And if they do and don't pay it, it's default under the installment agreement. So they have to pay the next year that comes due in order to stay in the installment agreement, which is what the policy now says, but it's not as clear as it should be.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you. It wasn't. So one thing that we're gonna try to do is we're putting together a press release. We're gonna put this out on the website. And we are putting a new installment agreement together where we're already doing this actually, when people sign an installment agreement, we're making sure that they're actually initialing all key areas, like, for example, you must pay your go forward current year taxes in order not to be defaulting on this payment. Kevin, you have a point?
Can I ask you? a
Yes,
question?
Chairman.
Sorry.
What about the people who don't pay their taxes 3 years in a row? And then come in with a lump sum payment on the third year. And then do the same thing over again. And I mean, how are we gonna put an end to that? The people who play this game constantly.
If I can
It's a
just take.
different, it's
Go
a
ahead.
different issue from the installment agreement. And the problem of certain individuals who may, for business reasons, choose not to pay their taxes on an annual basis until they are 3 years in arrears and are facing the reality of a foreclosure lawsuit is not something that state law allows us to directly address at the county level. I do understand that there's some impacts that are felt by municipalities. Although municipalities are made whole on paper by the county who pays each year, who fronts the amount that's due for the unpaid annual tax bill. But it could have issues with water and sewer and other services that are not being timely paid. But from the county's position, there's not very much the county can do under current state laws. When people are deciding it's cheaper to pay 12% interest plus penalties on their taxes rather than paying the taxes when due. Because that's what happens. They end up paying after 3 years, the principal plus 12% per year, plus the penalties that are due. And the county ends up fronting that money to the municipalities
Yeah,
and being short that money until we get past that 36-year window and start the foreclosure lawsuit that compels them to then step up and pay what they should have paid 3 years ago, but for their business decision. Because that's a group, we're not talking about hardship or ability to pay. We're talking about a business decision that some members of the community make where they're able to do more with their money in their pocket. And the interest doesn't seem to impact them. And the interest is set by New York state law.
The only other point that I'd like to add is the enforcement is going to get very strict.
yeah, that was my question. I mean, who's going to watch this when you enter into installment payment, thing and then you just skip?
The chief enforcement officer for the taxes in Warren County is the county treasurer, and the county treasurer's office, we've discussed this, is putting processes and procedures as well as programs in place to stay on top of the installment agreements so that when you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're in default. And if you don't cure the default, the installment agreement gets canceled, it gets accelerated, and you go into foreclosure.
We are putting in, we're basically optimizing, and Jeremy Scrime is helping us with an updated system that we're gonna be able to track this very timely, and we will act upon it as soon as we have it.
I'm all for helping people out
Yeah, I am as well.
and. But when, on a local level, I know it's not a county issue, but if you look at the amount of money owed. Our water district this year was the highest one on the reinstallment rate, $90-some thousand. And my whole budget's $540,000, so $90,000 worth of unpaid water rents are showing up. And then, I don't know, I'm happy for it, I hope we help a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Those ones that go 3 years and then walk into the county and
Right.
pay a check for $180,000. I think there's something wrong with that. And the other thing is, and I wish we would put something in where these folks that don't pay their taxes, we don't put people into rental properties up there because they may have to find a rental property to put somebody in.
Right.
I don't think the county should be placing people into these people who don't pay their taxes to the county. For whatever reason, I just think that needs to be looked at too. That's nothing to do.
Are you talking about like the DSS folks that we need to put people in?
I didn't want to mention it.
Oh,
but I-
sorry, or
yeah,
also
But I think so, yeah.
and
I think that's the
STRs.
Problem.
another,
You know, people don't pay their taxes, yet the county is paying these people to house people. So they're getting money from the county, they're getting money from Warren County, to place people, I believe. I don't know how it works. But then they hold on to the money for up to 3 years. And they don't pay the town on a timely fashion, maybe for water, sewer, whatever. And it's almost like a Ponzi, I call it Ponzi scheme. You know, it just keeps going on and it's the same ones year after year. I just think, to be fair to the rest of the taxpayers, because there's a lot of people in this county that pay their taxes on time, pay their water rents on time, and pay their sewer rents on time, do whatever they're supposed to do, and there's a small, I guess a small minority, maybe it's a lot more than I know, but I know it hurts our budget. We're a small budget.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're receiving public funds
I don't,
for an enterprise that you have going and you're not paying your property tax, then that would be a problem, I would think.
the other thing that, so I can definitely work on an analysis for that. And the other thing I would think we would want to consider looking at an analysis on is, because a lot of these are business decisions and a lot of these people have multiple STRs and they're making money. So, you know, if they're not, you know, I just think it's worth taking a look at the numbers.
I just wanted, can I say something?
Yes,
Please.
You know, a lot of the business, some of them do it for a business strategy, and I know who you mean. And most of those people need a good banking relationship or need good credit. Is there ever a point where you get so far behind that it gets reported to a credit agency like you would a car loan or something like that? Because that could possibly change a lot of people's minds for doing this, if their credit was dinged a little bit.
I'm not sure we can pick and choose who we'd report. And you may-
Report them all, because the ones that need it, the ones that really need it have bad credit anyway. I mean, I'm saying, probably saying the wrong thing, but they do. And the ones that are using it as a business strategy don't want their credit hurt. I don't know, it's just a thought. I know who, yeah.
yes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, back to the other discussion about, you know, some of these are funded through DSS. It's gonna get even worse. On Monday, we're gonna have a discussion with OTDA, Office of Temporary Disability Affairs, where the state is going to say, if you house homeless in hotels, they are going to have to meet shelter requirements. And it's going to be, some of the hotels we use will never meet those requirements. Some of the hotels we use are gonna say, when we tell them they have to meet certain requirements, they're gonna tell us to pound sand. So we're gonna end up placing probably homeless in more permanent shelters that are some of these situations, not shelters, but homes, rental facilities that are, you know, some of the violators of not paying taxes regularly. So it's going to be a challenge that's going to increase in the future.
Good. Back to local law number 3. Any questions about that, or? Someone care to move it forward? Supervisor Stroh, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Again, any questions or discussion? This sets a public hearing on local law number 3. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, B. This is the audit results.
Hopefully you have some color copies. Another excellent audit report. Our financials are top notch. We have no findings from an audit perspective, from a financial perspective. Again, we were in good hands for the past 22 years, and then with Monica also helping us out, we continued. You know, the team is great. They did a great job in the back office. Basically, I'm just gonna go through some of this. They look at our basic financial statements. They do a management letter that I'm gonna spend a little bit of time with you on. They do all the auditor communications, and they also do a federal single audit and a New York State Department of Transportation audit that is required. With regard to, you know, our responsibilities as the County of New York, they make sure that we are compliant with generally accepted accounting principles, significant accounting policies, accounting estimates, independence, and other matters. I think the big message this year is on page 3 from our external auditors. If you see that trajectory, you see that expenditures and other sources since the pandemic, our expenditures, excuse me, were below our revenues. So we had more revenues than expenditures, which is a good thing. However, we are now out of the pandemic and we're seeing that reverse. And they're seeing that not just reverse here in Warren County, they're seeing it across lots of counties within New York State. And I think he was warning us about the fiscal cliff. And again, it's all about really good budgeting. It's about cost, you know, containment, about making good decisions, which we continue to do, but we just need to make sure that. If you go to page 4, it's just to look at our total revenues, non-property tax items. Those are the sales tax items, excuse me. State and federal aid is the next biggest chunk. You'll see that we're going up with our sales tax. And which is the high purple. Then we have state federal. I would expect that to be contracting, frankly. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have it? All right, I apologize about that.
This is what we got.
I should have gotten you. No, they can't see the colors. I apologize. Basically that, you know, our sales tax is going up slightly. And again, we have concerns that it's flattening out. Our state and federal aid has gone up, but not a lot. In fact, this year it went down. We went from 37.6 million last year to 36.9. And I think that we're going to have further restrictions go forward based on what we're hearing. Departmental income, we have a little bit more there, and then just other revenues and transfers in. So the big watch outs are, again, our sales tax. Let's see what that does. With sales tax, we do have one possibility, which is the STR sales tax. Given, you know, how it's going with New York State and the transparency we're getting from them with regard to sales tax and also the platforms, it's going to take us a while to really hammer that out, but we're expecting between 1.2 and 1.5 million uptake in sales tax. State and federal is going to be you know, it's going to go down. Real properties is, you know, and departmental income to the point we can do shared services and drive some income. I think that's a great idea. Expenditures, where we spend our money is our, you know, our number one area is economic assistance and opportunity for our folks. Economic assistance and opportunity, as well as general government support. And again, these amounts are going up every single, without seeing the colors, every single one of our expenditures is going up year on year. So that was the message on that slide. Page 6 is the other key message. This is general fund revenues and other sources versus expenditures and other use ratio. Basically, you want your revenues at best to be a 1-to-1. You want to come out, you know, you're not looking to make money, but you don't want to, you know, spend more than you have. So in 2020, we were 1.0. We went up in the pandemic. Then we started to come down a little. 2023, we were just a little over 1. 2024, we're actually below. So we had more expense than we had revenue. So we need to watch that trend. The next page is the same concept, except with the general fund balance over our general fund expenditures. And again, what this is in the prior years, 21, 22, 23, 20 and 21 and 22, actually from 20 to 22, we were building the general fund balance. They were good years to do that. 2023, we reduced it a bit. 2024, we were now down to 20% versus 25, 26, 27%. So again, we need to keep an eye on the general fund. And then I had mentioned that a lot of New York State counties are having this impact. If you look at page 8, you can see that Warren, Washington, Chautauqua, and Saratoga, their general funds are going down. Essex is a rock star. Essex, actually, Matt Montalvo, our partner, didn't have the explanation for that. And I had a point that I wanted to talk to Mike Diskin about it. For some reason, they're having very positive results in their general fund balance. And I unfortunately, I don't know the reason. Here's the next big, this is where I'd like to spend a little bit more time, but quickly, not belabor it, is their management letter. So that's the black and white letter that we have. First of all, they commended us on the improvements that we made from last year to this year. Last year, there were some significant findings in overtime. Not saying that we still have significant findings where we're under budgeting or we're just blowing through our budget with regard to overtime. That was in the sheriff's department, the correction branch, 911, and law enforcement, as well as additional overtime in countryside adult home, social services and airport. What they liked about this is that we put a new time and attendance, and we're putting in a new system that's going to be countywide. So we're going to have much more transparency across the county with regard to why we need this overtime. One of the big findings on page 3 is payroll timekeeping policies. Again, they commend us for putting the time and attendance policy in, but they're saying, A, it has to be uniform, and we are all working that it's going to be uniform across the county. And then they're noting that it does not clarify specific guidelines or procedures related to employees working overtime. Specifically, what procedures should be followed to obtain pre-approval of overtime, and then the tracking and documentation of the reason codes and reasons for the overtime. Again, this is going to be throughout the county. We have a workaround, a pragmatic workaround, that as long as it's built within the system and the supervisors and or the managers can go in and they can approve, they can literally click whether they're approving the overtime or not approving the overtime as it happens, or what they want is they want it before it even happens. They're okay somewhat with this detect control versus a prevent control, and that's because it's in the same time period. But the one thing that they wanted to see is they want to see analysis on why we're not meeting our overtime budget. So in other words, what are the reason codes? What are we not, do we need to budget better? Do we need to manage better? Why is all of this overtime needed? And they want to make sure that we understand it and that it's reasonable. Also coming out of this, they said so they say, please make some updates to clarify specific overtime procedures and with utilization reason codes. We recommend the county consider incorporating a review process. This is awesome. So with this new system that we're putting in, the new time management system, each department is going to own their own time management system. They are going to have super users within their own time management system, which is the time management system for everyone, but the departments need to own their process and their controls. So we need to make sure that they are managing it, they're compliant. They're the first line of defense. The treasurer's office, when we're processing payroll, we should be the last line of defense, catching exceptions. We're there to help them. If they have any questions, of course, we'll help them. But we're making each department accountable for their own payroll and their own adherence to the compliance of this new system and these new procedures. Then, when it gets up to the treasurer's reporting time, all of this is going to be exception reporting too with this new system. Right now, people literally go through time sheets, literally time sheet by time sheet. we're gonna have exception reports that spit out, and you're just gonna see what the exceptions are. So the department's gonna be a lot more effective and efficient for the departments to go through it. And then when it comes to the treasurer's office, we're also gonna have an exception report, hopefully a lot smaller. And then at that point in time, we'll basically, resolve what we can. But then between the treasurer's department, the county administrator and HR, if there are things that are outstanding and non-compliant, we need to discuss it and we need to either approve it or it can't be approved. It needs to be rejected. That's pretty much it for that one. Lastly, the county, and obviously like any policy that we have, it's a living document. So we just need to make sure that we look at it on an annual basis, update it for changes, et cetera. Make sure that we're addressing all the risks. So I think there's gonna be some real significant change in this area. And everybody's bought in. I'm really happy that every department head that we're working with is really committed to this. And they're signing off at key stage gates. I've talked about that. I'm gonna be talking with every single committee in January, so the new committee members understand it as well. Information technology and access controls. We do not have a formal process. We have a lot of emails that go back and forth, but we do not have a formal process where we look at user access controls on a regular basis to make sure people have appropriate access, to make sure that there are no segregation of duties issues, to make sure when someone leaves the county that their access is removed, not even when they leave the county, when they go to a different department. It's very important that, in corporate America, this was a huge control and it was very, very important and controlled very tightly. So what they want us to do, again, perform periodic user access reviews at least annually for all key systems, financial, payroll, utility billing, utility billing, promptly remove access for terminated employees or those who change roles, maintaining documentation. So again, we're working with the Risk Management Committee and Marilyn Rivers to come up with a process outside of emails where we can literally keep track of all of the changes that are going on for access requests, approvals, and removals, make sure we have segregation of duties within the system feasible, especially around transactions with approval and data modifications, and then implementing multi-factor authentication for password management. That's that one. Succession planning, we talked about that last year. We're talking about it again this year. Again, I think everybody's focused on it. And I think we're just looking to really document a bit more formally, what our succession plan is and who our key employees are and what their bench strength is, what's our plan for, succeeding with that, succeeding with the next one, et cetera. So a listing of key positions, essential to operations and financial reporting, identification of potential internal successors, and developmental pathways. That's really important. Documentation of key procedures, workflows and systems access requirements, and a timeline for training and onboarding successors. That's really important. You just don't want to throw somebody into the deep end. You want to make sure there are procedures documented. You want to make sure that there's a transition time, et cetera. And these are all very doable. And then finally, future reporting requirements. These are GASBs that we are going to be working on next year, and they're just kind of teeing them up for us, letting us know that I think the next one is in 2026, we have to work on certain risk disclosures. They're requesting more details. And then the other ones aren't until 2027. Any questions on that? I think we're in good shape. I really think that those things are going to come up next year's management list. I think that's it for that one.
And last item, the budget analysis.
Quickly, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to address it. Right now, the general fund balance, the one in your packet says that we're down to $1 million. So we are, hold on one second. Balance of surplus exceeding the minimum fund balance. We have $1 million extra above the minimum fund balance. That actually is now at 695 between the sheriff's 370,000 additional dollars requested for overtime, and then the 35,000 for the ASPCA. So just wanted to let you know that we're watching that closely. Adult use cannabis, we are not getting proper reporting from the state. And as a result of that, it's delaying our allocation to the municipalities. We're on it, we're working with it. Interest income in an effort to capture the additional $1 million that we're working with CashVest 3+1. We have taken $30 million and we're putting it into higher yielding investments.
What is the yield? We talked about a little bit, Danny. That's okay if you don't have it. I'm sorry.
Well, these two investments were in our high yielding, I can't remember the acronym, but it used to be 5.1, now it's like 4.2 because it.
Yeah.
And what's meant to happen with these two investments, we're putting them in fixed income, that they should be stable for the period of time that we're investing. So if interest rates continue to drop, which we're expecting, we'll be able to lock this in, and over the long haul, we'll be saving money, making more money. Time management system implementation, just so you know, the discovery stage is completed and we're moving into the design build stage in January with departmental super users. We expect completion of everybody up on the new time management system except the sheriff in late February, and we expect to have the sheriff up in March. Sales tax, again, is trending flat, showing little increase, implying stagnant activity and consumer spending. However, we may have a little silver lining with the STR sales tax if anybody ever gets the reporting under control. Occupancy tax collections, overall, we're up 2%. Implementation challenges with the New York State sales tax law continue to hinder accurate reporting. Frankly, that's an understatement. Platforms refuse to provide sufficient data, VRBO, or any data, Airbnb, to break down the STR OCTAX details. In fact, Airbnb is sending the OCTAX back to the people, which actually works in our favor because then they report it, at least it's accurate reporting. But they are not in compliance with New York State's law. As a result, we are unable to allocate lump sum dollars. This is important for you to understand for your respective municipalities. If we can't figure out from VRBO or the platforms, you know, we have over $300,000 in lump sum amounts from VRBO with no STR detail. So we're not able to allocate it to the appropriate municipality STRs. We can't distribute the money. We have it, but it may be delayed in getting to you. One little update that happened this week, on Tuesday, we had a meeting with NYSAC, and on Thursday, we were supposed to have a meeting with NYSAC and New York State, because New York State is hearing all of these issues. And the meeting with NYSAC on Tuesday was helpful, but I think New York State really wanted to know, do the counties understand the law? And I think they heard very clearly that the counties understand the law and that it's really the platforms that are non-compliant. You know, and the other thing that came out of that was New York State is like, you know, this may be our law, but, you know, local occupancy tax is a local tax and we're not touching it. You got to figure it out at the county level. And I got to give Lisa Mandy a little kudos at the end of the discussion with NYSAC. She's like, you know, this is all because of New York State and they're refusing to help us, you know, finalize it. So they did meet with the New York State on Thursday. We kind of got disinvited, which was a drag. I was not happy. But I have asked for an update on that. And then the portal implementation for OCTAX, we are starting discovery stage this month, design build testing in the first quarter, and go live and hypercare early Q2. And then we've given you pages. Hopefully this is a helpful format for you. Monica's doing a great job on this. We want to basically, if you read the executive summary, you know everything, you know, that's really pressing, and it gives you pages if you want to look at further detail.
So with the short-term rental, real quick, the other counties are holding this lump sum also. There's a lump sum that you're collecting that you can't distribute because you don't know how to distribute it based on how it's collected.
So there's only one other county in New York State that has subpoenaed VRBO. We literally had to subpoena VRBO because they are not in compliance with the New York State law. So nobody else is really as far ahead or is being as aggressive as we are. But yes, they have to hold that lump sum as well.
So we have a lump sum right now that we're holding. Where is that? Is that collecting interest also?
Yes, It's collecting interest and it's also accounted for properly from a recording and reporting. So from a financial standpoint, we're fine. It's just when we just don't have the details to
You
allocate
don't
it.
know the percentages, how, yeah, worst comes to worst, you could.
We don't know the STRs to apply the money to.
Right.
Chairman, if I could, just to clarify, because the question had an assumption in it, and the assumption is that other counties distribute occupancy tax based on percentage rates of occupancy tax collected from municipalities. That's certainly a policy internal to Warren County. That's not required under any state laws.
Okay,
So it's
right.
not clear that other counties are stuck in the way
Right.
Warren County is stuck on the distribution because of our internal mechanism of distributing.
so the way we distribute, it's not doesn't have, it's not common everywhere. Other counties might distribute it differently.
If they distribute it all.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
Frank, is that just for the sales tax portion of it?
No, that's for your occupancy tax.
Yeah.
So the sales tax,
But we're getting occupancy tax now.
so we're getting it.
We are.
You're getting occupancy tax. We're getting occupancy tax from the people who own the STRs and are doing independent.
Right.
Right. But if they're using a platform and Airbnb and VRBO are like 65% of the platform business. Airbnb is not following the law at all. In fact, we're in a better position with Airbnb because they're sending everything to the STR owner and then the STR owner is reporting to us. We're getting that. VRBO is following the law as they see it. And they're just giving us lump sums of money. And now that we've subpoenaed the data, they have given us, we do have addresses and gross amounts, but there's no way for us to validate it.
Just one follow-up quick, Frank,
Yep.
because right now we're getting our STR money by forgetting it.
Well, you get your 25, you get your 30,000 and then you get the bulk of it at the end
Right,
of
and
the
then we
year.
get that percentage collected by community, I assume you,
Yeah, you get that like in March.
right, so they gotta be collecting it by, somebody's sending that money to the county by community, because. Well, how do you determine the percentage you're giving all these?
Yeah, that's a challenge because
Right
Volvo,
now, that's-
Volvo is not doing that and that's what you can't distribute. But if worse comes to worse, you can distribute it based on our other formula, even though it might fall differently when you get the final numbers. Like a,
I,
did I explain that?
yeah, I get what you're
I'm
saying.
not saying to do that, but if
Right.
it carries on and carries on.
VRBO is trying to work with us. They've just given us a listing of addresses. So we're trying to figure it out, but we can't. I mean, it doesn't tie out to anything. It doesn't agree. It's very painful. Hopefully by March we'll have it sorted, so you will get your money. But actually, what we told NISAC was that it's time to get the Attorney General involved.
Yeah,
The nightmare.
straighten out.
That's it for me.
Anything else? No? Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to number 4, and this is referrals from the County Facilities Committee. And the first one is from the airport. It's a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $15,873. And this is for receipt of donations to cover the cost of overtime, benefits, Medicare retirement expenses associated with the address. Moved by Supervisor Strauss, seconded by Supervisor Mason. Any questions or discussion on 4A? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carried. Looks like we can probably do, possibly do 4B and C together. This is from Buildings and Grounds. And it's a request to authorize the county treasurer to close capital project number H426. The regional morgue facility. Return estimated remaining funds in the amount of $20,958.74 to the A909 budget code, which is the general fund unappropriated surplus. And 4C is wants to take that same money from the unappropriated surplus and put it into A 1620-470 contracts, which is, I believe, the Health and Human Services Building, and that's to cover the anticipated expense of boiler replacement. Introduced by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any questions on those two items? Okay, call the question on 4B and C. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5 is referrals from the Criminal Justice, Public Safety and Emergency Services Committee. Let's see, A is a request to increase capital project number H 254 Fire Training Center project in the amount of $13,100. Produced by Supervisor Casito, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4B is from the Public Defender's Office. And this is to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $1,700 to reflect receipt of fourth council at first appearance grant funding. Introduced by Supervisor Mayday, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion on 5B? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, 5C is a request to appropriate $370,000 from the A 909 General Fund unappropriated surplus to various budget codes within the sheriff's budget to cover shortfalls. Supervisor Mayday, seconded by Supervisor Stroh. Any discussion on this item? Yes.
Is this what I see on the resolution for overtime? Now, didn't we approve overtime for the sheriff's department earlier at another time, 300,000? Is this,
We did, yes.
so is this above and beyond
Yes.
$670,000 total?
Well, the 300 was for corrections
Okay,
and the 270, this is for patrol.
okay. Lot of overtime.
Actually, less than last year. Yeah.
260 is for the part-time.
Yeah, no, I get it. Good.
Any other discussion?
This is, if I can just interject, this is one of the things that we're gonna, with the new time management system and the auditor's requests. Hopefully we'll have more, real-time understanding.
Okay, I'll look through it.
No.
Just
Just the nature of it.
30 years.
Have you, yeah,
It's awful. It's not like someone's abusing it, you know.
right, yeah, no, I trust it.
Yeah, the only comment I'd like to make on that is I just want to make sure that we are not gonna not pay people who work overtime. If they work overtime, they get paid for that overtime. We're gonna encourage less use of overtime like we always do.
County attorney, I approve that.
Exactly. They don't work.
You know, so we're not gonna go back and say, well, you worked overtime, but you didn't check all these 4 blocks or something like that in the time management system, so you don't get paid. You're still gonna get paid, so.
I totally support it. I just happen to notice that.
Well, you know, if we have a better way to track it, I think, you know, similar to what Countryside does. I mean, they list off their
Yeah.
overtime each month. The sheriff's office needs to provide the board with a little more detail. Time.
And I think that's what the new system's gonna do.
The new system's gonna help you.
I know every time someone worked overtime, there was an explanation. It had to be approved underneath, you know, but it probably, with the new system, it's gonna be more viewable.
Yeah, and you're gonna be able to export exception, reports, not
Right.
exception reports, but,
Right.
and we may actually work with Jim. Jim's gonna own, his system. And we're gonna work with them to make sure that the reason codes that he needs are in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna get you know, I don't know if it's gonna go as far as saying, you know, balloon fest or, you know, things like that. I'm not there yet. I just don't I don't know yet.
I think that'll help the board because, you know, we get hit with or requests to appropriate this kind of money.
Yeah.
But we really don't get any
Backup.
backup,
Granularity.
anything to back it up. So lends to you know, concern and mistrust and stuff like that.
We had to pay somebody overtime to bring us lunch.
Any other discussion on 5C? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 5D, this is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $5,000. Reflect an increase in the amount of the contract for the Queensbury Union School District for resource officer services from 148,000 to 153,000. This request did not go before the Criminal Justice, Public Safety, and Emergency Services Committee for approval.
Bring it forward.
Moved by Supervisor Bell, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Page of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Last page of the day.
No, we still got another,
Some of those whole other again.
no, we're not even halfway.
What?
We'll be looking at dinner.
Number 6, and this is referrals from the Health Services Committee. First is Office for the Aging. And A is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $330,000. And this is to reflect an increase in the unmet need funding for 4/1/25 through 3/31/26 for the purpose of addressing needs of seniors in Warren and Hamilton counties. Introduced by Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any questions or discussion? Call the question on 6A. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 6B is from the Office of Community Services. And it's also to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $20,396. And this is for a pass-through of 100% state aid funding from New York State Office of Mental Health for the Parsons Northern Rivers Assertive Community Treatment Program.
C is also.
And D is also a pass-through of 9,371. And this is for the Ascend Mental Wellness Housing Program.
I'll move 6B and C.
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion? Call the question on 6B and C. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Number 7 is referrals from the Occupancy Tax Coordination Committee. A is a request to authorize the appropriation of $5,000 from the A881 Reserve Occupancy Tax to the Tourism .424 for postage, and this is to pay postage invoices for the remainder of the year.
Can we move 7A and B? Same thing, B is same thing.
Yep, B is 1,601.01, and that's for to the tourism contract line. And for a business promotion module component for the website. So introduced by Supervisor Strauss, 7A and B, seconded by Supervisor Lucido. Any questions or discussion on that items? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8 is referral from the Public Works Committee, Solid Waste and Recycling. And this is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $24,000 86590 to utilize funds from the sale of scrap containers to purchase new waste and recycling containers. Introduced by Supervisor Mayday, seconded by Supervisor Crusito. Any discussion? Call the question on number 8, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 9 is, Finance Committee on the personnel agenda items. Items 3, 4C, and 4E. Let's see.
Or she was supposed to withdraw on personnel, that's going to come back in June.
Okay. 4C was, withdrawn. So number 3 is, from the sheriff's office. And this is to amend the table of organization and salary schedule. This is to create new positions of senior communications officers, the 4, 5, and 6, each with a base annual salary of $60,486, and unfund but retain 3 communication officer positions. And this would be effective December 22nd, 2025. Introduced by Supervisor Driscoll and seconded by Supervisor Mayday.
So
Questions?
are we not gaining any positions? We're redefining current position? Okay.
From what I understand, it's for grant dollars, and each part of the, provisions of the grant is, each shift has to have a senior communications officer, so that's, this way they'll have a senior communications officer on each shift.
All right, thanks.
It's cost neutral. So
Okay.
they just,
Yeah.
because of the grant, they had they had one supervisor, they need one for every shift.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Call the question on 9.3. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 9.4E, appropriating funds from the budget code A918. And this is the assigned sexual abuse lawsuits fund. And it's to budget code A6010-419, social services settlements for the settlement of Brooks versus County of Schenectady. Reduced by Supervisor Mayday. Seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Questions on, item 9.4E? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Privilege of the floor for this section of the, oh, wait a minute, we still have more of it. Do you have an addendum? The addendum has 26 items on it.
Yeah.
Alright,
I mean,
all been approved by the budget, so I don't see what, unless somebody has an issue with one of them, I think we can do items 1 through 22. Unless somebody has objection.
no objections, I'll make the move.
Introduced by
One,
Supervisor
one.
Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any discussion on 1 through 22? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and now we have items 23, 24, 25, and 26. And I be separate because they're not set, and so.
Yeah, those ones we're still working on with real property to get all the final numbers, so there's resolution request forms in the agenda, but we don't have the actual resolutions yet, but should be ready.
So it's kind of fill in the blank.
Well, I think it's to authorize a resolution to fix the tax rates.
Okay.
I'll make that one.
You want to do through 26? So they're all gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay, introduced by Supervisor Stroud, 23, 24, 25, and 26. seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any discussion on those items? You will, final number will be there.
Yeah, so what happened was we kind of mocked them up, and as the real property office runs the rolls, that's how we found out what the tax rates are. So they're doing those right now. So, yeah.
Bless you.
But sure.
Any other questions? Call the question on 23 to 26, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Excellent. Privilege of the floor.
Nobody dare speak.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I do one privilege? I just want to thank Supervisor Thomas for chairing this committee.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
Time, and I've appreciated it in my very short tenure at Warren County so far, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That, good thing.
I thought he was coming back in January as part of our new succession policy.
At this point, he might, if he gets a law license, he could certainly be county attorney.
It's been my privilege.
Yeah,
That's what I said.
yeah.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
All right.
Thanks for staying on today.
Take one up.
By Supervisor Mayday, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll.
So I noticed that you didn't follow Amanda's